All right, good evening, everyone. We're at 4:05 now. We're still going to wait for a few more people. We're not going to wait. We're going to allow them to enter as we begin now, however. But thank you again for joining us in our second expert forum series tonight called Appraisals, Partners in the Process. And before we begin tonight, Jack, if you want to advance the slide to the next show there, I just want to remind you all to thank our sponsors, Vantage Builders, for all your commercial building needs, All Dry Restoration, Navigant Credit Union, of course, and Shadone Law. So again, these are companies in the community, businesses in our community that help us do what we do. So if you have an opportunity to use their services or to at least recommend their services, please take advantage of that at some point. Also want to remind you that after tonight, our next series will be on June 11th. And Rob Fox will be doing his Building Your Own database. And it's going to be a very interesting and very needed field for a lot of us who kind of have papers scattered all over the place trying to put together a database. Also want to remind you to mark your calendars, May 22nd, which is next Thursday. There will be an RPAC fundraiser at the Narragansett Brewery in Providence. So come one, come all, and just attend. Nice time to meet your fellow realtors, not only in the commercial zone, but also in the residential. And definitely mark your calendars for November 6th, which this year will be our commercial day at Cello's over on Post Road. This year, among a couple of topics, one of the leading topics we're going to be talking about is AI. Seems to be on everybody's list now of things we need to know and how to, I guess, navigate in the world of AI as well. So on to tonight here. Tonight, again, we're going to be talking about appraisals, and I want you all to welcome Vanessa Mann. Vanessa is commercially licensed and a certified real estate appraiser with over 23 years of experience at White Appraisal Company, which she currently serves as president and owner. Throughout Vanessa's career, she's performed a wide range of commercial real estate appraisals across every town and city in Rhode Island, bringing local knowledge, professional insight, and attention to detail to each of her assignments. I know a lot of us have used White Appraisal in the past, and we will continue to in the future. Vanessa has earned her bachelor's degree from Rick in 2002. She currently resides in Western Coventry with her family. And I would like to introduce again, Vanessa Mann. Thank you.
Hi there. It's nice to see you all here with me today. I am sharing a screen. So as he indicated, my name is Vanessa Mann. I'm a commercial real estate appraiser. I've run into many of you, although I do see some unfamiliar names. And I hope you all take down my name and number. Give me a call. I like to talk about commercial real estate, so call me anytime. That's me. I'm the real estate appraiser. And I like that you called this Partners in the Process, because I think sometimes we forget that we're all here to get to the end, to a finish line. You guys are brokers, you want to get those sales done, and a lot of times you meet with me and rely on me. So I always hope that we're all trying to get to the finish line together. I think we miss that sometimes. So looking forward to it. So I never really know who knows what when. So I always throw up a definition of an appraisal, because the key word in there generally is an opinion. It is supported and developed, and we hope we do it right, but it is my opinion at the end of the day, and opinions change. So nothing's ever written in stone, and data is what supports it. A lot of what makes an appraisal is that it's done by an appraiser. It's not done by a broker. It's not done by anybody else. It's only done by appraisers. And we're required to follow by Rhode Island state law. And in some cases, if we're doing bank work, federal state law, the universal standards of professional appraisal practice. And that it was changed every 2 years. But they've indicated that maybe it's not going to change every 2 years. And when I say it's it's always updated, and you have lawyers involved. If there's lawyers on the call, no hard feelings. They're rewriting things and changing words and clarifying. And they did indicate that they might not change it every 2 years. But we're still required as appraisers. Just it's similar to ethics training, although it's not. We're required every 2 years to go back and take a look at how we're supposed to do these. In the state of Rhode Island, appraisers must be licensed or certified. At one point, you had to be licensed or certified only to do bank work or something that's involved with a federally regulated transaction. That is not the case anymore. So when we do work for divorces, we do work for probate, all of the various users of our reports require that we're licensed. So there's multiple levels of licensure. There's a trainee who always works with a supervisor. And when I say works with, there's various levels of working with. We have really, experienced trainees and really inexperienced trainees. I have three trainees right now, which is my maximum. And they are at various levels of what they can do. And then there's licensed, which is, it says here that, they're limited as to, they can't do really complicated properties. And when I say complicated, it doesn't really matter. It's complicated in that maybe it has weird development issues. Maybe it's owned in leasehold, or it's just a situation that's not typical in the market. So that's, and you notice I put non-complex in quotes because that's pretty vague term. But they are pretty clear about transaction values under $1 million. And then certified residential can do any residential property, complicated, not complicated, odd circumstances, with between 1 and 4 units. That's also residential land would be included with that as well. Then the final level would be a certified general appraiser, and they can do anything. They can do anything in the state that they're qualified in. Generally, when we're here for a transaction value, we're here for a lender, and part of that would be identifying our clients and intended users. And when we're there for a lender or a bank, they are our client. We're not supposed to tell anybody except for them about what we're doing. So, which puts appraisers in awkward situations when we're at the inspection and people ask about fees and turn times. And we have to say, oh, we can't tell you. And then things come up like, well, I paid for it. So we have those complicated questions, but we field them as needed. The only person we're supposed to talk to about our assignment is our client. And in most cases, for sales situations, that is a lending client. And typically we provide with market value, which is all something I believe as brokers you're all familiar with. But there are other levels of value. There's investment value. What is the property worth to a specific investor at a specific time? There would be an insurable value. You guys probably have seen that, in your everyday life outside of work. What, you look at your insurance bill, and I think they've gone up recently, and what they have you valued at is impactful, and we're asked to do that sometimes. I'm not going to read this. This is the definition of market value. I throw it up because this is where we're doing our job. And these are important characteristics, with the buyer and seller being typically motivated. If one side's more motivated than the other side, we know that that sale price changes. So when we're looking at market value, we have to be clear as to what parameters we're using. And again, with lending work, we're primarily looking at the effective date of the appraisal being the day that we view the property. Sometimes you have an investor who plans on doing a complete renovation project when they're complete. the lender may request from us a prospective date. They're saying, when is it going to be done? And what's it going to be worth on that date? So that's a future value. We try our best to use our crystal ball at that point, although we do employ significant assumptions when we're doing that. We also do a retrospective values. Generally, we do those in divorce situations. We do those in probate situations when somebody has passed. They need to know the value of the property as of a date that's already happened. And again, with those past values, we're employing certain extraordinary assumptions. So when we're at a property, what are we looking for? Obviously, location, location, location. And what are we appraising? Sometimes that's a harder question than you think. Sometimes you get to a property, it's 12-unit residential property. So the question is it condos? Is it rental property? Are there leases in place? Are there, are they month to month? Are they all vacant? Are they all under renovation? So we need to know all of those things. And we usually like to know them before we get to the property. But I can tell you now, half the time we get there and it's something completely different than what we expected. So we're always reeling back, readjusting to the situation. And again, there's different fee rights that can be included. So when we're appraising a property that has no lease terms, where generally it would be a fee simple valuation. If there's leases in place, doing a Dunkin' Donuts, it's leased for 30 years with 10 5-year options, then it's leased fee value. We're valuing the leased fee value is the value to the owner, the person that is going to buy that lease. And then leasehold would be the flip of that. What is, if Dunkin' Donuts builds a property on a piece of leased land, what's the value of that leasehold? What's the value of just their building? There are assignment conditions, as I indicated. They have, it depends on the situation. If we're doing, like I said, a prospective value, we need to assume that it's complete on a certain date. If it's a retrospective value, we're assuming that it was certain circumstances existed on that prior date. There's also situations where we get to a property and we notice, there's 2 inches of water in the basement. And we sometimes we have to make assumptions about where it came from, what's going on, or sometimes we'll assume it's not adverse unless somebody tells us otherwise. So we might suggest an inspection, and we would employ an extraordinary assumption at that time. Hypothetical conditions are involved when we know it's false, but we're presuming that it's true for evaluation. For example, if we were doing a proposed 6-unit retail plaza, and when we get there, they haven't built it yet, but we've been asked to value it as if it was built on that day. So that's a hypothetical condition. This is the scope of work. It's the scientific process for appraisers. I don't need to go through it step by step. We get a problem, we figure out how to solve the problem, we solve the problem, we report it. That's the appraisal process in a nutshell. One thing that is important is what is the highest and best use of a property. When we go back to that 12-unit residential property that I indicated, is it a rental property or is it a condominium? And sometimes it has the ability to be used as both. And we need to do certain tests to determine which one produces the highest and best use. And so part of that would be physically possible. Is it a 12-unit? Was it already built? It's there. It's physically possible. Is it legally permissible? Well, we would go back and look at zoning information. If it's built, I'm assuming somebody knows it's built, it's openly used, and there's an open and notorious use for it. Then, and we have a zoning certificate indicating 12 units. Sounds like a good day. And then there's the financial feasibility. Can I convert it to offices? Would that be a feasible venture? Right now, I think you all know that if you have a 12-unit residential property, 3 stories, you're not going to use it as an office building. So we have tests for financial feasibility. And then the maximally productive. That is a fancy way to say, is it the highest value? And that's where we would test that 12-unit condo versus a 12-unit residential. And then every market would be different at that point. And some markets, condos, you're in North Providence, you can sell condos left and right. If you're in a rural area, you're going to things slow down a little bit. So maybe it's better to rent it out. So we do those tests in every single assignment, and value conclusions or value opinions can be significantly different if you develop a different highest and best use. There's 3 approaches to value. You guys all know the sales approach, and you probably all know the income approach pretty well too. Nobody buys investment property unless they know how much cash they're going to put in their pocket at the end of the day. And we love comparable sales. The cost approach, obviously it is exactly what it says, is what would it cost to reproduce this building or a replica, something similar to it? What would it cost to build it and the land to do it? Add them together and you get a value. Part of that would be considerations for depreciation, not only physical, but also some obsolescence. If it's, not in the best location for that exact property, we would have to test some depreciation. And I'm not going to go through each approach. If there's a specific question on it, I'm happy to go through it. We just talked about cost, income, and then sales. I think everybody knows that one, most of them. This is information that we would love to get before we even are engaged, but we don't. A lot of times we don't get these until we're waiting to start writing the report. A current rent roll. We can't do our job if you have a a 6-unit retail plaza. I can't do my job without a rent roll. And part of that rent roll would be leases, if there's long-term leases in place. Monthly leases, they're good to know about, but the appraiser doesn't necessarily need them. If we get them, we're going to look at them and that's great. But if you have a Dunkin' Donuts in place, I need a copy of that lease. A bank in place, or anytime there are especially long-term leases with, 10, 20, 30-year leases, we need a copy of those leases. We're appraising essentially the value of that lease. So we generally need them. We also need current expense data. And this is hit or miss. Taxes we can usually get from town or city hall. Insurance. This has become pretty significant because current insurance costs are pretty self-evident, but they've been going up drastically, not only in our waterfront areas, everywhere. Significant. Last year, some areas were seeing 20, 30% increases in insurance costs. So that makes my job difficult, but I guess that's why I get paid bucks. Having the current information is needed to complete my assignment. And part of that is water and sewer as well. Current information for water and sewer is usually a pretty good barometer going forward. It does go up a little bit and it varies year to year, but generally we find water and sewer is relatively stable. So the current amount is pretty significant. Current heat, electric, trash, snow, these are all typical operating expenses for a property. The management costs. Now, a lot of smaller investment properties are managed by the owner. So we're flying by the seat of our pants for that one. But when we can get it, we save it, and we do compare all of the subject properties that we do with historical. Maintenance expenses. I'm looking for reoccurring maintenance. If you tell me they put a new roof on last year and it cost 50 grand, that's good. I'm not going to analyze that in my cash flow. But I am going to consider it in the reserve budget that I look at going forward. If you put a brand new roof on, you don't have to put a brand new roof on for, fingers crossed, 30 years. So you don't need to put aside money every month or every year for a sinking fund for that. I need the purchase and sales agreement. That's pretty self-evident. I love floor plans because they tell me I'm not an architect. So if I can get a floor plan, I would love it. Site plans and surveys, again, I will rely on the GIS mapping system, but I think, as you all know, they're all off kilter and they don't show lot lines perfectly. So site plans and surveys are also great to have. And then any other data that you think the appraiser should consider. That includes comps, listings, rental information you want us to consider. Especially if you know something about a sale that you think I might not know. If you know that the building that sold next door was dilapidated inside, then telling us that would be helpful. We call people, we send emails, we don't always get a response. Sometimes we end up, I have appraisal at White Appraisal RI email. I end up in your junk folder probably more than I don't. So as much as I try to reach out to the brokers and agents out there, they don't always get back, or they don't always, I do. So if there's something you think the appraiser should know, in my opinion, please give it to me. In the appraisal process, we're always looking at the quality and quantity of the market data. If I'm in a huge rental market, if I'm doing a multifamily in Pawtucket, and there's a lot of rental data out there. I feel pretty good about doing an income approach on that. I'm not gonna be short. If it's all one bedrooms, well, there might be a little less data, but so whenever we're looking at data and we have sales or income or anything, we're always looking at what's the best information available to me to rely on. So my biggest bugaboo recently just is I get an engagement letter from a lender, and I pick it up and I look at it and it tells me a contact person, and nobody's told me anything. I usually don't even know it's a sale, to be honest with you. And I pick up the phone and I call the person and they're like, yeah, yep, I'll get you in. And I propose a date and we get there and I pull up to a property and I have a very angry listing agent. I have a buyer, maybe. They didn't show up. They're the one I made the inspection with, probably. And a seller. I have everybody at the inspection. And I didn't even know it was a sale. If I don't know how you guys can get everybody to get the listing agent's contact on that sheet from the lender, but I think you guys would be happier if I called you first instead of the buyer who doesn't have access to the property, who's made an appointment without keys, without anything. So I always say that's one of my biggest bugaboos recently is I can't seem to get the right contact information. And I already talked about what I can discuss. I can usually give an idea about how long it takes to get things done. And I can answer specific questions about that. Generally, my commercial assignments, they take 3 to 4 weeks from start to finish. I think the lenders order me last. So when you're writing up a purchase and sales agreement, I guess that's something to consider. We have, a current workload that quarterly processes, start one, finish one. Sometimes I can turn them over a little bit quicker, but generally, turn times for commercial assignments are 3 to 4 weeks, and sometimes longer if it's a hard one. You have a big storage facility. It's, collecting data takes a little more time. Yeah, and this is where everybody starts freaking out. So, So most of this is Breakable, so it's mostly commercial, but I do residential properties, and they're on forms and easy to fill out and pretty straightforward. Commercial assignments require, they're a bit more in depth. And when we're writing for a lender, we're generally writing for somebody that's not, for a reviewer that lives out of state, Georgia. That's where my big reviewers are coming from right now. I don't even think they know where Rhode Island is. So the more information I provide to them, the happier they are with my report. And that means the more information I get on the ground from my lending clients and from my broker friends, and the more times you call me back and tell me everything I need to know, I always say the smoother the process goes. Responding to emails. Hopefully I'm responsive and I try to be. And those are the situations that help us move these processes along. And again, the more information I have that you want to tell me, the easier it is for me to do my job. And the rest of it is just specific forms. And if I went quickly, I'm sorry. I tend to go through things, but I know that there was specific questions about the process of, that an appraiser does and things that we're looking for. And so if somebody had a specific question about that, I'll be happy to consider it.
And I should have said earlier, if anybody has any questions, if you want to, while Vanessa's talking, just shoot up the little hand sign under the React tab. But if anybody has a question, feel free to unmute yourself at this point as well and just ask away. I saw a couple of people look like they were trying to get in kind of edgewise, but if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask the expert now.
It's odd that I don't have questions. I usually can get a rise out of somebody with something I say way back when. So
I figured Joe Luca would have chimed in by now.
Is there anything, then let's spin it around. Is there anything that as a agent, broker, anybody that you want appraisers to know? I sit on the Rhode Island State Appraisers Board. And we field a lot of questions, in and out from public users, from lenders, from our real estate groups, that we're always trying. We're here to solve problems, and we're here to do it in a way, that we're licensed and regulated, just like you guys are. And so we have licenses that we maintain. And so we're always doing the right thing, but we're also trying to get everybody to the finish line to usually get a sale through in a meaningful way.
I do have a question for you, Vanessa, from Joanne. Feel free to talk away, Joanne.
Okay, my question is that I'm seeing a lot of properties, like in Pawtucket, because of the soccer stadium and the what else? The train station. They are like, I'm not sure when the evaluations were done by the city, but I'm even seeing it here in Warwick sometimes too. And on a lot of houses, they're going way above, like $150,000, $200,000 over the assessed value of the city. And I'm just thinking, are the cities that far behind, and that's why the banks are allowing these appraisals and these people to buy them? How are they calculating that? Because I'm finding it like I'm going, where do I land in this? How can I get the best money for this person, but have a bank approve that much money when I really don't know what's going on here?
Sure. I can't speak to revaluations. So the state of Rhode Island requires that that each city and town, all 39 of them, perform revaluations every 3 years. So, and every 9th year, they have to do a full valuation, meaning they send inspectors out to your house. Don't let them in. They send inspectors out to your house. They measure it. They look at the inside, and they come up with a value. So that would be considered year 1. And then on years 3 and 6 or 9, they do a statistical update. They don't generally go back out to your house. They will rely on building permits if you pull them for changes to the property, but then they're just going back and taking all of their data it's a computer valuation. So it's every 3 years. So is their data old? Yes. In some cases, I don't know. Because every single one, when they do them, is different. I don't know Pawtucket's exact revaluation date off the top of my head. But sometimes those values are 3 years old. Sometimes they're based on information from up to 9 years ago. Nobody's been in that house or nobody's been out to that property in 9 years. You can do a lot to the inside of a house in 9 years without anybody knowing. So their numbers are wrong most of the time. So the second part of your question was, how do banks justify this? They rely on appraisers to go to the market, look at data, analyze it, and form an opinion of value. So we are lucky in Rhode Island, you guys put some commercial property in the MLS system, and especially the multifamilies, the 5 through 12 units. We love it. The data's there. Those attachments with the income and expense information. Oh, it makes us so happy to see it up there. But that's what the banks are relying on. They're relying on us as professionals with your assistance to go to the market and analyze it. So if you have a property, you have an oddball property, you don't know what to list it for, maybe you should have an appraisal done. If it's a 6-family in Pawtucket, I don't know if you need an appraisal. You should be able to pull some data yourselves with full access to MLS. But I'm happy to do them. 6 families in Pawtucket are probably my favorite thing in the world. Maybe six families in Woonsocket too. There's a lot of data on it. It's the odd ones. It's the car washes. It's the storage facilities. Storage facilities aren't really hard anymore because there's so many of them and there's a lot of rental data. But it's the hard ones, the oddball properties, because every property is different. Because you can have a very typical property, a single family on West Shore Road. Okay, well, is it office? Or is it a house? What is it? So that's where sometimes an appraiser can help. And there are, affordable options for appraisers to help, but that's a different conversation.
Okay.
I hope I answered your question, and if I didn't,
Yeah, you did. I was just thinking it's the oddball one because I was pricing a restaurant. The guy was kind of in trouble. He needed to sell fast, but it was a very well traveled area, a little iconic place. Across the street from it was this dumpy gas station, gutted, had to have phase 1, phase 2 on it. It went for 200,000 over the asking price, which was really, like, I already thought it was astronomical in the first place. And so it was really hard to price that restaurant. And I guess that's probably the answer to my question, because I've got another one coming up like that, is get an appraiser, because I've got another very oddball, a commercial condo within a little strip mall. And some people aren't even fazed by the price, and some people are going, how did you price that like that? Like,
yeah,
never mind.
I do say with commercial real estate, the location, it doesn't really matter. When I don't say that like as a whole market, just that I have to get out of the mindset sometimes that if you're doing a property in Coventry, you got to only live in Coventry. I think you all know you can drag buyers from anywhere. If it's off the highway, whether it's in Johnston off the highway or Coventry off the highway, it's not necessarily in their zoning works. It doesn't really matter. So sometimes, if you're doing a commercial condo, you're looking for a similar. If you're doing a commercial condo out in North Smithfield, because they exist, you can't stay in North Smithfield. There's not many of them. So you're going to end up, but you're going to come down the western part of the state. You're going to go to Burrillville. You're not going to go to, Warwick. That's a completely different market. But you would go, to Coventry, Cranston, Western Cranston. I think we all know that the steel condominiums are hot right now. They've been hot for years. I've been waiting for that market to fall apart, and it still hasn't. And I will go anywhere for comps like that. There's a new development on Coddington Highway in Middletown, and when we did that project, we went everywhere for new construction steel condos. They're selling higher than offices in most cases. So again, unique properties require just a little bit expansion of, the typical buyer.
So
Again-
Vanessa, I have a two-part question maybe for you,
Sure,
and
of
that
course.
is, because the market seems to be escalating so quickly,
Mhm.
and probably a tag onto Joanne's question as well here. Are you seeing a problem with timelines of values that have changed even from 6 months ago to now? That, again, we as the realtor in the field are sweating out with the seller. Is this thing going to appraise? I mean, we've got 6 offers that are well over asking. Is it even going to come near to appraising that? And so I'm wondering what you see as the biggest problem you're running into. And the second part of that question is, what can we, as the realtor, do to assist you in helping find those values?
Sure. So my quick response to that is the market does change fast sometimes, and we can't see it. As appraisers, I think you all know, we're always looking backwards. We review and analyze current listings and pending sales. However, you can ask anything you want for your property. In fact, I'm putting my house on the market right now for $2 million. Anybody wants it, you let me know. That's an asking price. So that it's always hard for us we can't rely solely on them. But we do look at them. If you as an agent meets me at a property and it's going to be a hard appraisal, because I think a lot of you know when it's going to be a hard one. Come with everything you got. So, don't come with the 5 highest price sales in the state of Rhode Island, because that doesn't help. But you can come with the 5 best comps, even if they don't support value, and tell me why they don't support the value. Tell me why they're worse. Tell me what you've seen in the market. Tell me your experience, because then it will push me to go find that information and look at it. If Providence rents for a 2-bedroom apartment in 2021 average was $1,700. Now, 2020, I don't think the integrated housing report came out not too long ago, and those were up to $2,700 average rent for a 2-bedroom in Providence. That's $1,000 a month in 4 years. We, as appraisers, that's a long time. We can see that, but I don't know if I ever would fully appreciate that $1,000 rent increase on average. If you tell us where to find the information that you think is reliable to support a sale price, I would hope we'll go find it. So I don't know if that answered your question, because changing markets, we're required to analyze them, and the residential side did come out recently. Fannie Mae came out and made it so appraisers have to analyze changing market conditions more carefully. I think that's the best way to say it. I'm not sure every appraiser is real good at analyzing market conditions, but if you're looking at data, we see the changes in the market. But when there's a lack of sales or listings or pendings, that's when our job gets more difficult. The other thing I can say, Stephen, is if you had 6 offers above asking price, show me. Tell me what they were. Not even specific, just, you can say, I had 6 offers at this, and the reason why that one was higher. We turned that one down because it was contingent on buying a horse farm in Delaware or something, silly like that. Tell us that because that makes it easier for us to explain to our banking clients who, review our reports very carefully. It allows us to explain, because my opinion is supposed to be supported and justified. And the data that you provide me when we're on the ground at the inspection, that's data, and it does help me support and justify my value.
That's helpful to know, because when I asked what can we do to help you, in your job, I know I get calls all the time from appraisers calling me about a property maybe I sold 2 years ago with a question. And they seem genuinely surprised that I called them right back. They go, oh my God, thank you so much for calling me back. Do you not find that realtors get back to you? I'm guessing by the smirk.
I don't. If no, I don't. I would say it's 50-50. Again, it's there's a lot of realtors that I know and know well, and they get back to me. But it's in the residential world, it's harder. I think the commercial brokers are a bit more attentive to that, and it just might be, maybe it's volume, I don't know. But no, they don't always get back to me when I have a question about a comp. They get back to me when I have a question about the subject. But it's that comparable, you guys know these sales way more than I've never been in some of these properties. I mean, if it's a Dunkin' Donuts, I've been in that Dunkin' Donuts. I can tell you that. Every single one in the state of Rhode Island, I've been there. But multifamilies, if I didn't appraise it, I don't know what it looks like on the inside. And sometimes MLS pictures, they're good, but sometimes you only take pictures of 2 units, right? Because the tenants are a pain. And you could only get into 2 units. So I don't always get the whole picture. So I always appreciate people getting back to me. And I hope that moving forward, we can do that process a little better.
So it sounds like realtors call back the appraisers when they call and bring a floor plan when you go to meet the appraiser. Anything else? I know there's a couple of appraisers on here. Any questions that you may have just in comparing notes, I guess,
Please.
in the trade?
I saw Dave on here. He has nothing to say. I'm going to pick on him, but
yeah, he's unmuted now. He's ready to go now.
Come on.
Yeah, I would say that just what she said, the more you give us, the better, because it's any information we get is helpful, and there are things that she just had talked about that we need to get, and it's not always available, or maybe you have better information than we have. So the more you get us, the better job we can do in putting the whole process together that Vanessa just laid out.
And there's nothing we hate more. Maybe I'm the only one. I don't like asking lenders for more time. So if when at the inspection, giving us that information like sooner than later. Appraisers are procrastinators too, but we do wait till the last minute to ask for our P&S because we assume we have it already, right? But as I told you, sometimes we don't even know it's a sale. We get to the property and there's all these people and we panic. We're like, oh no, who are all these well-dressed people? I got sneakers on today, so yeah, the more information, the better. And I don't know how you guys can get the listing agent's number on that appraisal order form for lenders, but I would pay you for it.
Dave, you got anything else to throw in there?
No, I thought it was very well done. And again, and I did one a couple of years ago for the group. And I think my biggest point was exactly what she said. The more you give us, look, you want to get the loan closed if you're selling it or that type of thing. The more you can give us up front, the better information we have. And like Vanessa said, and it is we tend to be procrastinators and everything. So we don't want to wait till the last minute. So if you give us that information, once we start going through it all, whether it's sales data or the square footage of buildings, because then we rely on what the town has or the city has, and that may not be as accurate as what you may be able to provide to us. So all of that stuff that you can get to us, it's just very helpful. It helps us do our job better, which will help us then have you get your loan closed or the sale to fruition.
All right. Any other questions? Anything in tying things up, Vanessa, then?
Just let me do one more too.
Go ahead,
yes,
Dave.
no, Dave, come in. Yeah.
to go on to her thing is the callbacks. I will agree with that. I'm going to say it again, depends. Residential is worse than the commercial on things. And I do agree wholeheartedly what she said, I'm going to say maybe 80% of the time you don't get a call back on stuff. It's just you're just looking, and it's just a quick confirm this for me. This is what I saw. This is what I have. Can you just let me know? Or maybe I've got a question on because it's not quite clear. Just clear that up for me. I just need to know this because, and then once I do that, we're on our way, and it's usually a quick call on something. So it's a very important point, Steve, to get, if an appraiser calls you for something, it's important for them to get information that you guys probably have that we couldn't find one way or another.
It was very telling when I saw the title to the program tonight, Partners in the Process. And me coming from the residential world strictly at one point, I don't know why, but it seemed like there was an adversarial relationship between the realtor and the appraiser. It's like, oh my God, she's coming to kill this deal. I can already tell.
I think I opened with that. Didn't I open with that?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And it really, I mean, I think the word has to get out, because it still hasn't in however many decades, that we're all there for the same reason. We're all trying to make the deal go through for the buyer, for the seller, for everyone concerned. So nobody's trying to sabotage the deal.
So I guess if I had to wrap up mentally, communication is key. And if you're working with a broker, I mean, an appraiser on a deal, call them. Halfway through they're not done, call them. Check in on them. Make sure they're having a good day and say, hey, is there anything else you need from me? And then that phone call, because sometimes we get into it and we're struggling. And so that phone call allows communication to go back and forth. Like, actually, you know what? I'm really glad you called. I'm really struggling with this because of X, Y, or Z. Because I pulled up this sale and it's not helping my story here. So, and then you might be able to say, I know something about that sale. I know why it's not helping. You shouldn't use it. It was a sale to a son. It was a sale to brothers, sisters. Actually, the neighbor bought it. That's why it's so out of whack, because the neighbor paid double the price. So sometimes just following up with the appraiser, and I might be in the minority. I'm at my office every single day. I answer like right now, I'm not answering the phone because I'm on this, but I normally would pick up the phone. Half the time you call this office, I pick up the phone. And I know that appraisers are on the road, but we usually have cell phones.
Right.
I don't know if we all use them as cameras. I don't know what we did before iPhones. But so communication. That would be my final.
Agree with that.
All right, I will ask one last time for questions, and then I will start to wrap things up here. So if no one has any questions, again, I want to thank you very much, Vanessa, for putting this program together for us. And please, everyone, remember White Appraisal. If you need an appraisal anywhere. Now, you're licensed outside of Rhode Island as well?
I'm just licensed in Rhode Island. Rhode Island keeps me plenty busy. But I can recommend people in other states if you have a deal that's going on somewhere else and you need some help finding somebody. I'm more than happy to help. You have questions, comments about any piece of real estate. Like I said, I answer the phone. I like to talk about real estate. Sometimes I don't get any work done. So I'm always here to talk about commercial real estate.
Well, and I'm glad you said that, because that's probably just as important when, we always tell people, well, if I can help you, let me know. I know somebody I can call. So it's good to know if I need an appraiser in Connecticut or Mass, I can call you to say, hey, who can you recommend for me?
Massachusetts is easier. Connecticut's tough, just because all of their people are out in Hartford, right?
West.
So the eastern part of Connecticut's tough, but we have contacts that, we talk to. So I'm always here to help.
All right. Well, again, thank you very much. Hopefully everyone's questions were answered. I want to remind you again, next Thursday, the 22nd, at the Narragansett Brewery in Providence, going to have a little mixer there with the RPAC fundraising. November 6th is our commercial day. It's going to be at Cello's again. cellos this year on Post Road, and going to be talking AI is going to be our main subject there. And please don't forget our sponsors that help our whole organization stay afloat at times: All Dry Restoration, Navigant Credit Union, Shadone Law, and Vantage Builders. So if you have the opportunity to use any of their services of any of our great sponsors, we certainly would appreciate it, and let them know that you heard about them from the Rhode Island Commercial and Appraisal Board. Thank you for all joining us on our second in our series with our expert series. We're going to be receiving a certificate probably in a day or two from the office for the continuing credit hours that you'll need here. So again, and I see no more questions, thank you very much, everyone. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend. It looks like we're getting snow tomorrow, so make sure your snow blower's out, your shovels are ready, the gloves, the boots, everything else. Have a great evening. Thank you very much. We'll see you the next time, June 11th, next professional series. Thank you.